the wrong tune in the wrong key. Gig nightmares for you and me. Song changed keys and I wasn't ready. Gig nightmares for you and me. Another key change, oh God, oh no. Gig nightmares for you and me.
All right, here we are today, Gig Nightmares. Today we're speaking with Mr. Joshua Engle. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Well, obviously, enjoying all this weather. Right now we're recording this in July, and well, I just personally finished 4 gigs in a row, and I'm absolutely exhausted. And fortunately for me, I have another gig tomorrow. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, we're getting through it somehow. But anyways, so this was I'm speaking to you today because Jeff Bunger actually connected us. He's connected me with a few different people for this show, so that's been fun, getting to meet new people, chat with new people, hear about their experiences. So a little bit about yourself. You're the owner of Native Studios in Liverpool, PA, and you've also been the guitarist and producer for the band Elsewhere since 2018. Recently, back in May, you opened for the post-hardcore band Skylit Drive at Phantom Power down in Millersville. And that's a really awesome place. I love going down there. And if I'm not mistaken, you were also the guitarist and producer for the progressive metalcore band Illusions of Solace.
Yep, that's correct.
Is there anything I'm missing there?
No. I mean, I've had a number of, bands in the past, for the past like 15 years or so. But yeah, it's pretty much up to date for the recent times. Awesome.
So I always respect anyone who's like wearing just a bunch of different hats in that sort of in that regard of being a guitarist, being a producer, having your own studio. I can only imagine all the stories that you have to have from that. I mean, I've always been a fan of Glenn Fricker on YouTube and how he would complain about bands coming into the studio unprepared. So I'll let you have the floor. Obviously with the show being Gig Nightmares, I'd like to hear some of your stories.
Yeah, I can give you like a couple quick little stories for the studio, since you mentioned Glenn Fricker and everything. Or is it Fricker or Flicker?
I think it's Fricker.
Fricker. Yeah, it's funny. He likes to go after bassists, which is always hilarious to me. I don't know, I haven't had anything too crazy happen. I've seen some of his episodes on YouTube, talking about his studio nightmares. I haven't had anything, that crazy, because I haven't been around the block nearly as long as him. But there's just been, in terms of people not being prepared, that is a very common across the board, no matter what genre or what size your band is or how long the band's been around. Just in terms of them not agreeing on how the song should go before they come in, or even knowing how the part should be played. A really funny common thing I see is, they've been playing some of these songs for quite some time live at shows, and they come in the studio, they finally record it. And nowadays, most bands, it's 1 or 2 people kind of writing all the music, and then they just have everyone else in the band learn it. And a really common thing is seeing, the guitarist will be recording a part, and then there'll be the bassist's turn, and they're playing it totally wrong or different. And and then it's like, oh, cool, this is now shining a light on how you guys haven't had this figured out for a while. You've been playing it wrong live for months or even years. So yeah, just people not being prepared, people being late is very, very common. And I try to give some grace there, because I know life and traffic be a real thing. And but whenever you're sitting here in the studio waiting for hours, and you blocked out your day for it, that gets pretty frustrating.
Sure.
And I would say the number one frustrating thing is just bands not being flexible in terms of new ideas. And since I've been in bands for forever now, and I've always been self-produced in every band I've been in, it was always me recording, me doing the editing, me doing the mixing. I've never once been in another studio in a work capacity. I've never worked with another producer. So I have the perspective of what it's like to be a small local band and being so attached to your songs that you spent forever working on. And I know it's really hard to hear someone else be like, well, maybe what if you try this, maybe try that. But in order to grow, in order to get better, you need to, like, you know, not be stubborn. You need to hear out everyone's ideas, even if it's from the outside perspective. And sometimes that's the best perspective, because when you're writing your own music for so long, you kind of get a little too zoomed in and you don't really, take a step back and you don't really hear the whole picture. So yeah, I don't know. I think bands, this is kind of like a PSA, I guess, like for any bands that may hear this that are like about to go in the studio, just be open-minded, be flexible, and be easy to work with. But it's okay if you feel strongly about an idea and you disagree with your producer or whoever, like that's fine too. Like, stand your ground. If you look inward and you feel really deeply about your idea, then like, sure. But like, also be a little flexible.
Sure. I think that's some great advice. And it, well, you tell that story, some of those stories there. And I remember like the first time I ever went into a studio with my first original band, probably, I think 6 or 7 years ago now at this point. And at this point, I was, I think, right out of high school. So usually your first band like that, you don't really know what you're doing. So it helps to have, someone to guide you along the way. And we kind of had that, but not really as well as we probably would have needed. Like, I didn't know anything about, like, okay, you multi-track guitars to get a bigger sound. I didn't know anything about that. So right. I just did we did like a little bit of an EP, and I look back at it and I'm just disappointed with, like, it could have been so much better, but we just didn't know any better. It's like to, I guess, set it up. I think we did it on a Sunday. It was a Sunday morning. And the day before, we did 2 gigs back to back. And it was like the hottest day of that summer, 2019, I think it was. So like the first gig is like outdoors. We're just like in the sun, just getting absolutely annihilated for like 90 minutes straight. And then right after that, we go down the road to like another place, but like there's like no air conditioning in there, and we're just also just dying and whatever. So it's the next morning. We wake up at like 7 or 8 a.m. to drive up to drive an hour up to the studio or whatever. My voice is completely shot. I was the singer in that band. My voice is completely shot from the day before. We're all exhausted as hell. So, I mean, it's really just like, a terrible, recipe or whatever for, it's not going to turn out well.
Right. Yeah. There's so many factors that go into making a good product in the studio, like, and I feel for vocalists in some ways, because like their voice being their instrument, and some days just for no reason can be just not a good vocal day,
Mm-hmm.
Between like what you ate, what you drank, if you're hydrated, how much sleep you got, and like your situation, how much were you really using your voice the previous couple of days, and there's no like fix in the world to fix a bad vocal performance, or not just bad, but like not ready vocal performance, like there's no plug-in that can like fix that. It's just like there's no forcing it. You just gotta like try again another day if you can. And yeah, that's rough,
but it really is like one of those experiences where like you do it, you mess up, okay, you've learned from your mistakes, hopefully you don't do it next time.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about, I guess, recording music and being in a studio. I feel like there's always something new to learn and to kind of add to your toolbox, for every time you go in again.
Absolutely. So what are some of your stories then from, gigging with the various different bands you've been a part of?
So there's a few, aside from the occasional, bummer shows where you drive real far, like hours away, and you're told, oh yeah, there's gonna be a good turnout tonight for sure, and then you get there and like you're only playing in front of the other bands and maybe 3 other people that showed up for the bar. Like that's happened quite a few times throughout the years. That just that's kind of soul crushing. Like, yeah, I mean, but it's par for the course. You got to earn your stripes, and not every gig can be good. But
sure.
I have 3 that I written down before this, just to like kind of refresh my memory. But there's like 3 that really stand out for me. in one of my old bands, I think I might have met Jeff, who introduced us and everything. I think I met him through this era. There was a time where my old band Earthbound that I was in, it was like 2015, 2016. We showed up at the Champ, and I was going to like refrain from name dropping, but it's people that aren't really involved in the scene anymore and don't really promote anything. And it's like an old venue that isn't open anymore. So I'm like, screw it. But if anyone in the Central PA music scene, anyone from around here, like they're very familiar with the Champ, and I'm sure you probably heard of it too. The one. It was 2015 or 2016, and we were asked to open up for this tour package, this big show coming through. And we accepted it, and it was, a ticket minimum, not much, like 20, maybe 30 tickets or something. 1 week leading up to the show, I went to the Champ to check out some other show that was happening. I think it was Battle of the Bands or something, or one of my friends' bands were playing. And I figured, while I'm there, I'll pick up the physical tickets from the front desk or whatever, whether it be Jeremy or Spencer, one of the main dudes that's, working for the Champ or CI Records. And that way I have my physical tickets. That way we have them to sell to all of our homies coming to the show a week from now. And I remember Jeremy Wise, handing me the tickets. And he wasn't the direct promoter for the show that we were about to play in a week. So I can't fault him for this, but there just must have been some weird communication or something. But I went to the front desk or whatever where you pay to get in. And I was like, hey, man, I'm here for Earthbound. We're playing that show with, I forget who was all on, but I know the headliner was called The Paramedic. And I was like, yeah, we're playing here in a week with them. I'm just here to, snag those tickets that we have for our minimum. And he's like, oh, yeah, man, I'm so excited for that show. So stoked to see you guys. He was like very friendly and everything and kept saying how excited he was. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll see you in a week, Grabbed the 20 or 30, however many tickets from him in an envelope. And then week goes by. We show up for the show, and, we're there 2 or 3 hours early for load-in, as you do. And when you first go down that parking lot, the first half is stone or gravel or whatever, then it turns into that macadam. Well, there was a chain going across before you can even get to, like, the second half of the parking lot. And no one was there, not a single vehicle. And we were like, well, this is weird. So we were just sitting there in the parking lot for an hour or two, and then a gentleman named Artie, who I believe owned the building, he came walking out of behind the building. I don't even know where he came from, but he walked out of nowhere and goes, "Show's canceled." And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, show's canceled. And I was like, for the paramedic and so and everything. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, since when? He goes, since 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and I'm like, dude. And then I start thinking of that meme of like Zach Galifianakis doing trigonometry in his head and stuff and the heading over. I'm like, wait, I was here 7 days ago to pick up the freaking tickets, and you're telling me 14 days ago it was canceled. So, and in the meantime, we have a bunch of like the other members of my band Earthbound. They're all going to college down like Valley Forge area, which is like almost 2 hours away. Yeah, and they had a bunch of their friends literally on the turnpike driving up to the show. No. So we're all frantically texting people like, no, turn around, like the show's canceled. And then we scurried around trying to hit up some friends in the Lemoyne, Mechanicsburg, Camp Hill area, trying to see if maybe we could do like a last minute gig. But we didn't, so we just ended up, calling it a night and going home. But and then we got a hold of Spencer, the guy who was the promoter and direct point of contact for us for that show, and we were like, hey, man, like, the show's canceled. Like, what the heck? And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess my email to inform you guys must have got stuck in my outbox and never went through. And we were very, very pissed off, very frustrated. And then what really the cherry on top was that he didn't apologize, and he didn't offer to make it up to us to, like, get us on another gig, maybe with, like, no ticket minimum or something. But, like, yeah, that was it, and we were pretty PO'd at that point.
Yeah, show promoters, gotta love them.
Yeah, I feel like it's always such a treat when you find a good promoter, because not to talk smack on show promoters, but I just feel like it's hard to find a really good one these days. You know, I don't
No,
know.
I agree. I'm in the same boat with you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then it's not just, I was starting to think I was going crazy. Like, man, is it just me, or does it just seem really hard for anyone to do the bare minimum point of their job? You know, like communicating and promoting the show and just being at the show on time to help the bands do whatever. Like, yeah, no, it gets ridiculous. But
I mean, I'm sure show promoters, you know, obviously like before the internet and social media age, I'm sure they had a much more important role with everything. But at least
definitely,
in my experience with like local shows and whatever, I still have yet, and like I probably should at some point, like interview like a show promoter for this show so I can get a better understanding. But at least so far, I can't really figure out what it is that they actually do other than just like
right. Yeah, other than send out maybe one message asking a band if they want on the show, and then, you know, maybe mailing the tickets to you or not, and then showing up to the show super late and you have questions when you get there for I don't know, it's crazy.
I mean, I remember playing a show, I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure anyone with any educated guesses can figure out who it would be. But I was playing a show in, where was it? Somewhere in the Lehigh Valley area, opening for a somewhat big band. It was obviously like a, you know, ticketed, you know, pay to play sort of thing, I guess. And the promoter, he showed up to collect the tickets, like the ticket money from the tickets that we sold. And then he left to go do a DJ set at the casino.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Just to collect the money and dip, and then go try to gamble that money that you probably got from you.
Maybe. I have yet to meet a promoter I'm really a big fan of.
Yeah. There's not too many. There's a couple we've worked with, like my band Elsewhere. The shout out Nick Myers from 717 Entertainment. Out of the sea of bull crap of promoters, he's the one that always shines through for us. He just seems to always be, I don't know, he's more about like music first, money second. Unlike a lot of the promoters, like your situation where you just wanted to grab your money and then go gamble it away. He actually like seems to care about the music and like helping bands out and stuff and being real cool. So wanted to give him a quick shout out so that way not everyone thinks it's totally hopeless out there.
Yeah. Okay, so you said that was one of your stories. What are some of the other ones?
Yeah. There was so I was in a band previously before when I was in Earthbound, a Christian metalcore band called Faithful Few. And again, I don't know if I met Jeff Bunger through either Faithful Few or Earthbound, but I know it was like in around that time, like the good old Champ days. But when I was in Faithful Few, it was like 2014, and we got a show offer to play at the Crocodile Rock Cafe in Allentown before they closed, RIP. And it was with, again, a tour package. I can't remember all the band. Or no, I know it was This or the Apocalypse headlining. But I remember it being like a really weird show where I don't think there was any other bands like touring. It was just This or the Apocalypse headlining, and then like 4 or 3 other locals, which was really strange to me. It didn't make sense because every single one of us local bands, like the 4 of us, we all had ticket minimums. And I can't remember what the minimum was, but we didn't reach it because it was like a Thursday or a Wednesday. And all the way out in Allentown, it's hard to get people to want to drive 2 hours out there on a weekday night. And Allentown isn't the the nicest or safest area. So I know quite a few people just don't even want to be there after dark, which is fair. So we had to do the classic thing where, if you want to play, you got to pay out of pocket the remaining difference of what you don't sell. And so that sucked, like I think I had to drop like $60 or whatever out of my pocket just for us to play. Then my other bandmates pitched in too. And we get there and, the vibes are all right. Like we're having fun. We're just goofing around and everything. And we go on to play our set. And for whatever reason, I was having technical difficulties as that happens with my rig. And just getting no sound whatsoever. And I'm like frantically, and I'm sure you probably went through this, like if you've ever played guitar on stage and whatnot, it's you want to die in that moment. where it's just like every second counts during changeover, and everyone's just staring at you, like wondering like why is the band not starting? And then you're the guy like trying to figure your shit out and being like, why is it not working? And yeah, just profusely sweating, heart racing, and just miserable. And I just was going through I had a pedal board, I had a PV head and a freaking 4x12, had a full half stack. So like I'm checking everything, turning everything off, in the classic, turning them back on again. Magically, everything started working. Made no sense to me. I didn't have anything muted or turned off. And then, so that cut into our set time a little bit, like maybe a minute or two. And then we're playing through our set. And then we're into our last song, and the sound guy through the PA is like, all right, that's it, wrap it up. And we're like, and our vocalist, while he's like screaming and singing and everything, he's like putting up his finger like 1 minute, like just trying to like tell him like, oh dude, we only got like a little bit left of this song. And a couple seconds go by, and he's like, the sound guy talks again into the microphone, only a little bit more stern this time and a little louder. And he's just like, all right, come on, wrap it up. And my vocalist is just waving his finger again, like, come, just please give us a few more seconds. And because at the end of our set, we had this like really cool breakdown that we loved playing that had like a Michael Scott from The Office sample.
Oh, nice.
And it was like our fun way to end our set. And we were like maybe 30 seconds to a minute from that point. And I get there needs to be a semi-tight schedule with shows, but like, dude, what's 1 minute? You know, like just give us 1 minute. And I'm pretty sure our vocalist at the time, as we were starting the last song, even said, this is our last song, just to kind of, express like, hey, like, don't worry, we're not going to go like 10 minutes over our set time to be a bunch of douchebags. And then again, the sound guy started actually getting very angry through the microphone, telling us to stop. And so I'm very pissed off. So I just take my guitar and I just like throw it down on the stage, and I just start turning off all my stuff, like very, very, very mad. And I look back, and our drummer, Jamie, he's on in-ears with a click track. So he didn't hear or see this whole interaction.
So he's still just going?
Us and the sound guy. Yeah. So he's confused looking at me like, dude, why are you taking off your guitar? Like, what are you doing? And and it was the most anticlimactic way to end our set, because it's me taking off my guitar. And then Jake, our bassist, was like, okay, I guess we'll stop. Then he started slowly stop playing and turn off his rig. And then,
so it's just everyone kind of slowly just giving up.
Yeah, one at a time. Yep. It's like the worst way to end a set. And then our drummer's like, oh, okay. And he just starts slowly playing and lightly playing, and then just stops. And then our vocalist goes, all right, well, guess we're done. We've been faithful few. Like, just very defeated in his voice and mad. Yeah, and it was just awkward silence in the crowd. Like, I don't even think anyone clapped, because everyone was just so confused and feeling so uncomfortable. What felt validating was, I guess it wasn't just me having technical issues. I think it was just whatever was happening in that room tonight, because then later when This Or the Apocalypse played, one of the PA speakers started sparking and then smoking.
Oh. So
I don't know if it was an electrical issue going on in that room that night or what, but it was like Crocodile Rock Cafe, but it was the downstairs stage in that like long basement hallway, if anyone's familiar with that. So it's much smaller, and I feel like something was just messed up that night for everyone. Oh, and then another thing was the band that went on after us, went on before us. One of the guitarists asked me, oh, I forgot a speaker cable to plug into a cab. Like, do you have any I can borrow? And I was like, yeah, I actually just bought 2 speaker cables from Guitar Center yesterday. And they were like $60 for one. So I spent like $120 on these 2 cables. And I was like, hey, we're on right after you. Make sure I get them back from you before you dip or disappear or whatever, like, because I need those for us to play. And he's like, yeah, for sure. And then they disappeared the second they were done playing, and he walked off with $120 of speaker cables.
Well, I guess he made his money back from not selling tickets.
Yeah, I guess so. That's how yeah, maybe they had that premeditated, like, oh, we didn't hit our ticket minimum, so we're just going to steal some cables.
Now, that sucks.
Yeah, between that and, paying out of pocket just to play, and then just to have our set cut short in a very crappy way, it was just very rough night.
Now, I never got the chance to play at Crocodile Rock since I think they tore that place down before I even started really playing in bands. What year did they actually tear that place down? First close it. What year was that?
I think it was right before COVID. I want to say like 2018, 2019. I think they closed.
Yeah, so like I never got the chance to like actually play there, but I've obviously heard many horror stories. Just I mean, like awesome place to see a show. Don't get me wrong. I saw I think Rob Halford from Judas Priest there in like 2010. It was like
Oh,
10
wow.
feet away from him. Like that's the fact that
Damn.
you could do that you could see a legend like that at a small place like that was awesome. But I've never heard anyone tell any like actual real positive stories about anything related to playing there.
Yeah, I feel you there. I've noticed that too. No one's spoken highly of their experience gigging there, and I've been there a million times back in the day. Seeing big shows like you mentioned, and that was a really cool spot because inside was a pizza joint, and I remember their pizza being really freaking good. And then I don't know if you remember, but like in that main dining area when you walk in, there's like pictures all around the wall of
Yep, I remember that.
celebrities and all these different musicians and artists that played there. Like I remember Bam Margera had there was a picture of him in there and stuff. And
Lots of history there.
yeah, R.I.P.
And I think you said you had like one more story, right?
Yeah, this one would be the most recent. This was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. This was with Elsewhere, and this one wasn't as like crazy big explosive, I guess, like the last two, but it was just one of those again, kind of like I don't know, soul crushing shows where we played at this like kind of dive bar in Mechanicsburg called Johnny Joe's, and it was only us and one other band playing. And so it was already kind of like a weird setup where it was just us and a cover band. And we're a metalcore band. Like we do a lot of screaming, a lot of breakdowns. It's like modern metalcore. So like people there, I think were expecting, radio rock and, especially the cover band headline the night playing for a couple hours, like people were kind of, I think, expecting that from us as well. So, we played in front of virtually almost nobody. And I'm not going to name drop who we played with. But it was just kind of a bummer because like even the one other band we played with didn't even like watch us or support us. They were like in the way back on their phones the whole time. And I know that's like a small petty thing to some, but for me, that really drives me nuts whenever it's already a small show and there's already not a lot of people there. I feel like your duty as a local band should be to support the other local bands you're playing with, to try to fill up that space a little bit to make it not feel, and just to support each other. And so that was kind of like a bummer. Like, we're no patrons of the bar were really digging our set at all. And then the band we're playing with wasn't really seeming to care at all either. And then we're just like, okay, whatever, bummer show, whatever. And then I get off stage and I'm playing this, it's a Charvel guitar, but the color is like this satin burgundy kind of a pink color. And I get off stage and this drunk dude comes up and goes, "Oh, what guitar was that?" And I tell him what it is. And I'm like, "Oh, it's a Charvel, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh, ain't that an ugly color?" Screw you, man. Like, and this is again, like seconds after we just played a set that like we felt not good about. And then I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, this is defeating. And then I load up my gear out to the car, like straight out right after we got done playing. And I'm in the parking lot kind of wiping down my guitar because it's covered in sweat and everything. And I always wipe down my guitars when I'm done playing because I sweat like a freaking hog and it's very acidic. And for years I didn't do it. My hardware would rust and corrode very badly, just cause a number of issues with my gear. So like I have a habit of like, before I put my guitar away and not touch it for hours or days, I try to wipe down all the grossness off of it. And so I'm out there, I'm at the trunk of my car, wiping it down, put my gear away, and this middle-aged couple pulls up, and they're walking by, and they're like, "Oh, we already missed the band." And I was like, "Well, there's two bands. My band just played, and then there's a second one about to play." And he goes, "Oh, okay. What band are you in?" I'm like, "Oh, Elsewhere." And he's like, "Oh, what kind of music you guys play?" And I was like, Oh, and I can always tell by like the way the person looks, they're not going to understand if I say
Yeah.
hardcore or metalcore. So I just try to like make it very broad, like, oh, like metal screaming stuff. And he goes, and him and his wife just go, oh, and there's like awkward signs. He goes, well, then I ain't too bummed out that we showed up late. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? It is just like one just gut punch after another at night of just feeling like, wow, is this pointless? Like, why are we doing this? Why are we here? So, yeah,
That's fun.
pretty much.
So like you mentioned that, and it's always fun when like almost like they were expecting you to be someone else or like the other band or whatever. So a couple of months ago, back in March, I did a short European tour with a metal band opening for the original singer from Nightwish, if you remember Nightwish.
Oh, nice. That's sick.
Yeah. So we did like 3 shows. We were in Slovenia, Hungary, and Croatia. Slovenia and Hungary, the audiences really loved us, but Croatia, like it was still a good reception, but not as strong. So I remember at one point, like we went back to the merch table to get our stuff before we left. And as we're walking out, we have like the T-shirts and whatever, and someone stops us. When we're in Croatia, someone stops us and they say, "Oh wait, I want to buy a T-shirt." I say, "Okay, here. what size do you need?" I need a large. So like, well, we give them a shirt and they say, "Wait, no, I don't want your shirt. I want Taria's shirt." And it's like, well, but you can buy ours anyways. I won't complain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough. I've heard the countless times from podcasts and whatnot, like in interviews of international touring bands talking about the funny cliche of certain European fans, or especially German fans or Dutch fans, being very brutally honest. So that kind of reminds me of that, like just being like, instead of just being, fake nice, they'll just be like, "Oh, you were better last time." Like just being brutally honest.
But I kind of respect that, I do respect the brutal honesty of it. Like, I think there's different ways to go about doing it. Like personally, like I try not to be, if my band, any band I'm in, if we're playing with like other bands, I do want to give like a fair chance and like, actually like watch and like I was playing with a country band down in Virginia a few weeks ago. And the band after us was like a bluegrass band that did like covers of like popular songs, but in a bluegrass style. Like they were doing Rebel Yell by Billy Idol, and the mandolin, either the mandolin or the banjo was playing all of like the synthesizer, and like it was awesome. It was so freaking good. But then on the other hand, I was playing with a different band like a year ago at Dingbats in Clifton, New Jersey, if you're familiar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard that place. I heard good stuff about that venue.
Yeah, it's interesting. But the band that opened for us, I think it was their first show, if you understand what I'm saying. But I still actually really enjoyed it because even though it was very much a train wreck, it was very fun to watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that you always got to throw respect at kind of giving it a shot, even if they're having a train wreck or just not being ready, And I always, after so many years and so many shows and so many bands working with or being a part of, it's very easy to get jaded and like, I don't know, it's good to have, I guess, high standards, but sometimes I got to catch myself to like remind myself, seeing a band that I may think it's not, they are not doing well, but I still got to like give respect for, putting themselves out there and giving it a shot,
Sure. It makes me wonder, like people like sound guys, because like sound guys, obviously like your experience at Croc Rock with the sound guy just kind of cutting you off before the end of your set. Obviously, like that's not really the most cordial sort of experience. But then I've seen sound guys who you can see that during a band set they really don't care for the band. But then as the band is finishing and they're doing the changeover, they're still saying, "Oh, sounded great, guys," even just being fake nice or whatever. And I'm curious if I was ever in that situation, what I would do. Like one of my favorite things that I read online was basically like instead of like outright saying you suck or saying fake, giving a fake compliment, saying, oh, you guys sounded great. The one that I liked that I saw online was, oh, it looked like you really put a lot of effort into what you were doing. Because it's not really an insult per se, but you're not really complimenting like the music. You're saying, okay, it looks like you really tried hard. You may not have succeeded, but you definitely tried.
Way to give it your shot. Yeah, no, I kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of
it's good, right?
Truth, but yeah, still giving compliment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. Before we wrap things up, was there anything else you wanted to say? Anything new you have coming up you want to promote?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I got my studio, still trying to always get more artists to work with here at Native Studios. Always trying to work with more bands of really any genre, but I definitely specialize in, rock and metal and metalcore and hardcore. But I will also say I have this new project called Soulview that I've been working on behind the scenes for the past year with a few friends of mine. We're going to be trying to put out our first single, probably say like around October, November. And then shortly after that the remaining of our 5-song EP. And then, yeah, we're going to be trying to be playing shows in around that time, so around the end of the year, we're going to be coming out with a new project, new band.
All right. Awesome. I think this episode is slated to be released sometime in September or October. So hopefully this will be some decent promo for that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Sounds good.
Awesome. Great. Well, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on Gig Nightmares, chatting, telling stories. It's a fun time. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate you.
Of course. Well, this has been Gig Nightmares. Thanks for keeping the music alive.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Gig Nightmares. Gig Nightmares is an independently produced podcast made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you enjoyed this week's episode, we would appreciate if you left a rating and a review for us. Gig Nightmares.